women's health is something that needs to be spoken about, needs solutions. When we are building these technologies, when we are, deploying these technologies, I met a judgmental ophthalmologist, I met a judgmental ENT. No, it is not done with a gendered lens, and that has had a huge impact on healthcare especially. We cannot essentialize women's health as just gynecology and just childbearing or just, that cultural function that women's bodies perform.
Yeah. Why so much emphasis on women's health, like particularly? Shouldn't healthcare be more general?
To be honest, when I was in college, I did not have any knowledge about contraception. They are sensitive to the natural fluctuations in your hormones, that is PMDD. Women's health as a category needs to exist. Current system of care has not helped women.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of DearUnconventionals. In this episode today, we have with us an inspiring personality who has been a pioneer in reimagining healthcare and challenging societal norms. She's the co-founder of Gytree, a health tech platform transforming care for women. Please join me as I welcome the dynamic Swarnima Bhattacharya. Hi Swarnima.
Hi Shivangi, very, very pleased to be here.
And how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome to my home, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Same here. Thank you so much for having us over, allowing us to set up with you. Too excited to talk to you about a lot of things. But first and foremost, I want to know about the start of your startup, Gytree, and tell us how is it different from other healthcare startups?
So, when I think of the origin of Gytree, whenever we are trying to build something, right, whether it's Gytree or any other business, there are the stories of many people and the journeys of many people that come together when you start building something. So, of course, I can speak to my journey, which was that I had been in the space of healthcare for a very long time. I really believe that, when it comes to health data and health knowledge, it needs to be in the hands of the end consumer. So that they can make more informed decisions, they can know they can understand their bodies better, and more so in the case of women, because up until the 1990s, women were not even included in medical research. It was not mandatory to include women in medical research. So I have always been a big believer. Before Gytree, I had another platform that I was running called Thea. It was a patient advocacy platform where we were, helping women with complex conditions like PCOS, endometriosis, fibromyalgia, postpartum conditions, right, to get connected to the right experts. And I was doing that alongside, my policy work and various other things. And Shelly Chopra, she is the founder of She the People. She was thinking of also at that same time she was thinking of building something in women's health. So we just started talking. She knew I was already building something, and then she told me that she's thinking on similar lines. And after many conversations, we just and exchanging thoughts, exchanging learnings, we just decided to do it together. So Gytree specifically was conceived in Shelly's mind already, and I joined her journey. Multiple reasons make me believe that women's health is something that needs to be spoken about. Sure. Needs solutions. It needs solutions, and when we say solutions, there's a spectrum, right? Right from fast diagnosis to screening to awareness to getting that long-term management, to getting the right care, to leveraging technology to doing that. All of this is very much important. And why I believe in the technology part also is that, a lot of people debate about this, that, technology is gender agnostic and technology doesn't see male or female, but that's not really true. There are not a lot of women who are building technology. There are not women, statistically, there's still a very, very low number of women, engineers or women in product. Women occupying high roles in technology spaces. Women have not traditionally been key decision makers of technology, and the technology is now our life. When we are building these technologies, when we are deploying these technologies, it is not done with a gendered lens, and that has had a huge impact on healthcare especially, So when I talk about technology, I don't just mean in terms of the internet or a digital product or a digital delivery. I mean technology that is being deployed across medical research, diagnosis, screening, saving lives in the clinical setting, all of this. I am a huge believer of that, and this Gytree is a platform that uses it in terms of consumer internet and tries to empower women take better decisions about their healthcare.
Nice. So how does this spelling also come about? Gytree is very uniquely spelled, right? It is Gytree.
Yes.
Why is it not spelled like, how one usually will write it?
Indian. Yeah, so here is, of course, everyone has their own interpretation. Here is how I think about it, that, we always think of women's health as gynecology. And we always think of a gynecology situation as me speaking with a gynecologist once and then being done with it. But women's health is actually, in gynecology itself, is like a tree, because think about it, when we are going to a doctor or a gynecologist, we've already had a symptom for a long time.
Yeah.
Then, it is not that, we go to a doctor and the diagnosis happens immediately. It requires investigation, lab tests, so many other things. Then we need, other pillars of care like counseling, psychology, fitness, nutrition, sleep, all of that, right? So we think of healthcare as, we reimagine it in that way, that gynecology is also not a straightforward thing. There is a lot of back and forth, and we cannot essentialize women's health as just gynecology and just childbearing or just, that cultural function that women's bodies perform.
Yeah. Nice. You also mentioned in the previous answer about use of technology and it not being gender biased, like it's for both. Healthcare in general, why so much emphasis on women's health, like particularly? Shouldn't healthcare be more general? Or what was your idea behind focusing more on the women's health?
This is a question I get from so many people, that healthcare is healthcare. Why women's health? Two reasons for this. One is that...
क्योंकि अभी आप technology में भी बोल रहे हो कि...
हाँ, right. The reason for that, there are two reasons. First is that healthcare cannot be and is not, has never been generic. Healthcare is healthcare. Everyone needs access to it. But women do have life stages, life processes, life cycles that are very different from men, and they need a very specialized care. The uterus, for example, we cannot think of women's heart health in the same way as we think of men's heart health. It does not. Women's symptoms are different. A lot of women are misdiagnosed. This is something that I encourage a lot of people to look up also, that women experience pain differently. There is more pain related life events in women's lives which need a differentiated care. Okay. So there is one path which is a differentiated care aspect, right?
Yeah.
Owing to the life events, owing to our body realities and things like that. The second, which is the fundamental reason why we are focusing on women's health, is because women's health is not just about the clinical ramifications of it. It really is, turning it's really about turning the tables on scientific and medical history itself. These are not conditions that have been researched enough. These are not conditions like endometriosis, PCOS. I'll throw some statistics which I encourage everyone to check out. Endometriosis in the world, which is a very complicated condition that women have, affects just as many people as diabetes does. But think of the number of, the amount of research dollars that goes behind diabetes as compared to endometriosis. Most people, including women, don't even know what endometriosis is. It's that right from imagining how that symptom identification happens, to how you find the doctor who's the right fit, to how your treatment is, done long term, the entire journey is different, because women's health fundamentally has been underfunded, under-researched and culturally blindsided. So this is the reason why we while we believe in very specialized care, these days there are diabetes specialist companies and kidney health specialist companies, but women's health as a category needs to exist because we have to acknowledge and admit that the current system of care has not helped women. Why are women afraid to go to a gynac? Because women's health is an issue that is intertwined with cultural and social norms. Women's bodies are primarily performing a cultural function, which is reproduction.
Yeah.
But we do not put a public health lens on it properly.
And how much has Gytree achieved with this? Because it's not just about मुझे लगता है कि सिर्फ systems होने की बात नहीं है. I think it's also about mindsets changing for the women themselves also, where they should start thinking about themselves that no, it's normal, right, to do it. First of all, do tell me how much Gytree is aiming to achieve with this. Where do you guys stand today? Other than that, you've been working so much extensively in this field. So do tell me what are the prime issues that you see are a problem in today's Indian society, in any strata, in all the stratas today?
Okay. That's a very, very extensive answer, but I'll try to be brief. So first I'll talk about Gytree and how we are trying to achieve this type of change that we're talking about. See, let's just fast, rewind to maybe just 10 years ago from now, right? When we were still young, I was in my early 20s. To be honest, when I was in college, I did not have any knowledge about contraception. I did not have any knowledge about, I'm from Lucknow, I'm born and brought up in Lucknow. I came to study at Delhi University. And I know that this was a conversation that a lot of people were having, safe sex, contraception, menstrual health. A lot of, symptoms start appearing at that age, which we realize later.
Yeah.
There was no conversation. Then let's go back a little further. Let's go back to when our moms were, middle-aged, How many of us can say with complete confidence that their moms really spoke about menopause? They didn't. They did not even know. People think of menopause as that day when your periods end, even if they know about it.
Yeah.
Assuming they know about it.
In layman terms, उन्हें यही समझ आता है.
उनको ये समझ में आता है कि periods खत्म हो गए. They think of it as a 1 day or a 1 week event. The perimenopause process lasts for 15 years. Okay, you start perimenopausing in Indian women. They get into perimenopause earlier than the world average. 38 to 40 में आपकी body change होने लगती है. 10 साल तो आपकी कहीं के नहीं है. 10 years with osteoarthritis, loss of bone density, loss of muscle mass, gaining abdominal weight, having hot flashes, having night sweats, having mood swings, having brain fog, and not being able to understand what's going on in my body. It's 10 years, right? So, what Gytree believes for every woman who is our user, whether who's taking a protein powder or some iron gummy or some menopause protein or something like that, or a PCOS protein, or consulting our experts for long-term programs and things, we consider this generation defining. This is something that we consider paradigm shifting work, where our generation in this day and age is taking steps for preventative health. In our 30s, we're already thinking about menopause, or at least there are platforms where you can do so. We're already prepared. We're trying to, be healthier. There are so many women on our platforms who first take some service from us and they're like, hey, you've got this menopause protein. Can I give it to my mom? There are people who come up to us and say this. So this is, for us, the biggest victory. How many women, or you spoke about the different economic strata, right? When I was, before this, I worked in public health for a very long time with the UN, WHO and all of that. And I used to work in the grassroots. And genuinely, when I used to talk about menstrual health and all, people used to say, पानी तो आता नहीं है, toilet तो है ही नहीं, school तो ये जा नहीं पा रही है. This is nothing. This is not even among the top 10 priorities of the family. It's the truth.
Yeah.
People are fighting for food and land and water and electricity. They don't want to think about a sanitary napkin. They don't want to think about postpartum depression, this is not
least of their concerns.
Least of their concerns.
क्योंकि पता नहीं है,
पता नहीं, अवेयरनेस नहीं है उनको, ये भी नहीं उनको ये भी लगता है कि जब एक, now this is why I bring in the culture and society aspect of it, because when a family plans its resources, they do not plan for women's health. They do not traditionally set something aside for women's health. Even today, even in wealthy families, things like IVF, IUI, all these decisions, all these reproductive decisions, they do make a financial toll. It does account for something. It's a financial toll that couples retrospectively work out if they choose to work out. So in every strata of society, of course, when we talk about women in rural or suburban spaces, women in under-resourced communities, there is a problem of access. Sanitary napkins, clean water, electricity, mobility issues, access to finances, all these are there. We, of course, don't have that, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that binds us all together are two things. One is that there is lack of awareness across the board. Many a time, doctor upskilling is also not adequate. In my hometown, they be like, endo what, fibro what, if you have some irregular period, PCOS hoga. This is how it normally happens. And the second thing that binds us together is that overall, the resource allocation to women's health is very poor. So this is something that is very important to know, because India has among the world's lowest penetration of health insurance. Most of our healthcare expenditure is out of pocket. When you're doing out of pocket expenditure, women's health is not a priority. But think about how much we spend on sanitary napkins and these are expensive things.
They're expensive, yes.
So across the board, somewhere there is an awareness issue, somewhere there's an access issue, somewhere there's a misinformation issue. We always see that cultural behavior is the enemy of women's health outcomes. And we need to unlearn that.
Definitely.
So that's what we have learned so far.
Right. What kind of issues do women come up to you with at Gytree, or even otherwise also, because most people know about you? So
हर टाइप के issues तो काफ़ी broad range है, but the thing that connects them is that they are looking for something more than just a clinical setting. उनके पास डॉक्टर्स हैं, वो बड़े खुश हैं अपने डॉक्टर्स के साथ, बट उनको पता है कि there is more to healthcare than just me talking to my gynecologist 2 times in a year. So that for that extra support, whether it is lifestyle oriented, whether it is their fitness routine, whether it is their mental health, they come to Gytree for that.
Okay, so is it about जब वो आते हैं, so is it more about you guiding them to the correct people also, or is it just about Gytree being in itself a self-sustainable place where they come and they are taken to the right place for what is going on with them?
We are a complete ecosystem for women's health. तो कहीं अगर आपको supplements चाहिए, जैसे हमारे normal Indian women को ये सब deficiencies हैं, iron, calcium, vitamin D, they have sleep issues, and every Indian person and woman especially is deficient in protein. Okay, तो ये सारे deficiencies के complete supplements हैं हमारे पास, ठीक है. Then we of course have experts like GPs, gynacs, nutritionists, therapists, dermats. So you are not left alone. Even if you're buying a product, there's a nutritionist who's going to give you a call and understand, okay, why did you get this? What is the health need that you're trying to solve? And we handhold you with that. Then if you want to come with PCOS and you want to just lose weight or regularize your periods, we've got experts for that. So we have those experts with us. वो हमारे खुद के एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, हम उनको वर्चुअल काउंसलिंग वगैरह देते हैं, वर्चुअल कंसल्टेशंस. अगर आपको कभी कुछ अल्ट्रासाउंड्स और ये सब कराने होते हैं, जो कि वी इनकरेज, लॉट ऑफ पीपल आस्क अस क्या वर्चुअली देते हैं, बट टेस्टिंग तो हमारा सब, वी आर द वंस दैट इनकरेज वुमेन टू गेट मोर अल्ट्रासाउंड्स एंड विजिट द गायनैक्स मोर. नहीं तो कोई करता नहीं है. एवरीवन थिंक्स दैट दे हैव अ गायनैक हु दे नेवर सी. So we encourage them to take these consultations. वो people do on their own, we are not offline. But if हमारे पास ऐसे भी बहुत लोग आते हैं कि listen, I'm really struggling to find a good gynac in XYZ town. So we've got a very large referral network. बहुत बड़ा referral network है हमारा, जहाँ पे हमारे ही community के लोगों ने try करके trust करके recommend करा हुआ है, तो हम उनको वो recommendations दे देते हैं.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that helps them.
It helps them quite a bit,
nice.
yeah. And we don't take it, इसमें हमारा कोई, there's no cut or anything. We just recommend these people to these trusted doctors.
Oh, great. I think it's a very noble startup that you have started, and I'm glad I'm getting to talk to you about these things, because there are a lot of things, even in today's time, हम कितने भी modern क्यों ना हो जाएं, कुछ चीज़ें around women's health जाती ही नहीं है, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, because it's so difficult and it's about changing mindsets, जो कि is the hardest thing to do. आप अगर खुद भी supposing like generation after generation, there are a lot of rigid notions about PMSing also. Is it, according to you, and mostly for men out there and certain families out there, is it real or is it a myth? Because
what, PMS?
Yeah.
PMS is real. I mean, it is, I'll tell you something.
Please explain it, because it's very important, guys. You should know.
No, so the thing is that PMS तो एक तो बहुत लोग इसको एज ए जोक बोलते कि कोई अगर कहीं गुस्सा हो गई ऑफिस में कि तो व्हाई यू PMSing?
हाँ, casual
ये
jokes.
सब करके it has become a butt of jokes. But the thing is that PMS is very real. It's as real as many other women's health conditions and pain related conditions that were earlier dismissed 20 years ago and said it's all in your head. So PMS is very real. What is even more real is this condition called PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which also happens in your premenstrual phase, but it is a very, very complicated condition where basically your brain is sensitive to the fluctuation of hormones. It's not an hormonal imbalance. PMDD is not an hormonal imbalance. It is just some receptors in your brain and in your system. They are sensitive to the natural fluctuations in your hormones. That is PMDD. PMDD भी एक वो भी premenstrual phase में ही होता है, and it is very severe. Lots of vomiting, lots of pain. मतलब PMS को अगर आपने 50x कर दिया, 10x कर दिया,
so pre meaning अभी period start नहीं हुए, उसके पहले जो symptoms आने लगे,
पहले जो symptoms है, मतलब very like extremely severe PMS उसका symptom होता है, and that is like a lot of people have now started talking about PMDD and things. PMS is basically premenstrual syndrome, which basically means कि जब हम लोगों का जो menstrual cycle होता है every month, तो हमारे ovulation के बाद और अब हमारे पीरियड स्टार्ट होने से पहले का जो फेज़ है, दैट इज़ अ ल्यूटियल फेज़. मैनी पीपल बिकॉज उसमें हॉर्मोन्स का अप एंड डाउन होता है, प्रोजेस्टेरोन इंक्रीजेज, एस्ट्रोजन फर्स्ट द एस्ट्रोजन इंक्रीजेज, देन इट डिक्रीजेज, देन द प्रोजेस्टेरोन इंक्रीजेज, एट्सेट्रा एट्सेट्रा. It causes bloating, it causes some tiredness, it causes pain in your lower body, in your lower body, etc. And for some women it's very difficult. Maybe they have some other underlying conditions as well. Women with PCOS tend to have very severe, very difficult PMS situations. Then women who've got gut health issues, उनको PMS के time पे और भी ज़्यादा उनकी abdominal bloating होती है, etc. etc. So PMS is very real. It's not a myth, but women do need medication for like real conditions. Of course, we should not have over dependency on medication for anything. Men, women, anybody. Like even people who are diagnosed with thyroid, diabetes. A lot of them they try to change their lifestyle. Alter their work on their gut health, alter their blood insulin, so that they are not over dependent on medication. Same goes for women in PCOS, during menopause, during PMS. But to say that the PMS is a myth that is being propagated by the pharmaceutical lobby, that is just blatantly false.
Overdoing it.
Yeah, that is just, no, it's just discredited research. There is tremendous amount of research now to talk about these, fluctuations, to bring these diagnoses and various other things. So PMS, PMS is not a myth. In fact, if somebody around you is struggling too much during PMS, if they're vomiting and nausea and migraine and like tremendous fatigue is happening, then you must bring this to your gynecologist and do read about PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Sure. I want you to tell at least the men in every household. एक तो इसका full form is not period mood swings.
Oh my God.
आपको पता है ये period mood swings कहलाते हैं, PMS का full form. It is period mood swings. So I want you to tell them about how men in the families mostly can support their women more around this time, and also to help the girls, the women, कि आपके साथ जो हो रहा है वो normal है और to what extent, और ये क्या क्या चीज़ों से governed है.
So I'll tell you something that there was a research recently which says that millennial dads, are spending much more time with their children than the previous generation. Okay, so I want to start with that, to acknowledge that men are becoming more responsible co-parents and supporting, their wives and everything, but it takes a long journey to get there. And that training, वो उसका ना responsibility और emotional labor कहीं ना कहीं उनके women in their lives पे आ जाता है. कि उनको सिखाना है, उनको बताना है, they are the ones having to educate their partners. I just feel that today we are connected to the internet for everything. Right? Okay. You don't even have to go on Google and, go deep into it. You can just ask these AI assistants. Or if you do not want to do that, there are आजकल जितने भी हमारे बड़े इन्फ्लुएंसर्स आ गए हैं इंस्टाग्राम पे, चाहे वो मेल हो चाहे फीमेल हो, बड़े सेंसिटाइज्ड हैं. I'm actually very, there are, I don't see a lot of, at least the ones that I follow, I don't know, they seem very sensitized, know. अगर आप तब भी PMS को period mood swings बोलते हैं तो ये आपकी प्रॉब्लम है. Seriously, you need education and it is on you to educate yourself. We are living in a world where women are in the army, they are pilots, they are CEOs, they are bankers, they are all kinds of things that previously a generation of women could not have imagined. Okay? But it is because of the way they push the envelope that way. So if you still think of women as hormonal creatures, who are like whatever, then let's talk about male ego and male anger and things like that, because those are also governed by hormones.
Yeah.
Okay? Anger, sleep, rage, irritation, everything is governed by hormones. So if you are still thinking of women as unpredictable hormonal creatures, then there is something wrong with the way you are choosing to educate yourself. आज के दिन में हमारे एजुकेशन के जरिए बहुत हैं. Everywhere we are surrounded by sources of information. You can choose the type of mindset you wish to go towards.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying that as of today, there is no excuse for lack of information.
In this time.
In this time, as of today, तो आपके पास कोई excuse ही नहीं है. आपको इंटरनेट चलाना आता है, आप AI के बारे में बड़े चर्चे करते हैं,
आप सारे टाइम WhatsApp पे हैं,
आप सारे दिन ट्रेडिंग की बातें बड़े करते हैं, बिटकॉइंस की बातें करते हैं, तो ज़रा women's health के बारे में पता कर लीजिए. Before you open your mouth and say weird things, find out why do you want to look like a fool.
And also say कि men, आपकी लाइफ थोड़ी आसान हो जाएगी, थोड़ी मेहनत करके थोड़ा सा पढ़ लो. अगर आपको यकीन नहीं होता कि ऐसी कोई चीज़ है, when your girl or your mom or anybody tells you, do it yourself.
Yeah, and also, the thing is, I'll tell you something. This is something that is a pet peeve of mine. I've always said this in my previous, interviews and, any platform that I have. See, women's health is not a women's issue. जब भी women's day की events आते हैं, 20 women, 50 women, 100 women आके बैठ जाती, where are the men? Why is women's health just a women's issue?
तभी उन्हीं को पता है बस.
हाँ, उनको भी नहीं पता है. Lekin so many times we are, having a conversation, so many women in our events that Gytree does, and, our sister concerned, she the people, when they do it. A lot of women talk about it, they learn, and then they're like, I wish I got my husband here. Dude, please go ahead and bring your husband. This is a cultural thing. If you are thinking that your postpartum wife, or your wife struggling with an autoimmune condition, or your sister struggling with, PMS, or your mom struggling with, undiagnosed menopause issues, is just a women's issue, that means there is something seriously wrong with you as a human being.
आप क्या सपोर्ट करोगे जो आपको नहीं पता है?
Because, और इसमें एक चीज़ और होती है. There's another thing. There is a flip side to this. So we at Gytree, we work with a lot of corporates for their employee well-being and things, and there are some oftentimes the HRs and all the CXOs who are the decision makers. Sometimes they are men also, and they talk to us that men also don't know about prostate cancer that much. Men when they are turning 35 or 38, they need to get their prostate checked. Men's sexual health के बारे में भी हम ज़्यादा बात नहीं करते हैं.
Yeah.
There is a social stigma over there also. It's not just women, because हमारी life events ऐसी हैं with menstruation, pregnancy, childbirth, menopause, तो वो हमें, it is even more stigmatized. But there are some serious things that men go through, erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, prostate issues. ये बहुत बड़ी issues होती हैं. These are about health outcomes. It's not about notions of manhood. ये आपकी हेल्थ की बात है.
Yeah, I agree.
कुछ आपका गट हेल्थ में खराब होगा, कुछ आपका हाई बीपी होगा, कुछ आपका कोलेस्ट्रॉल का इशू होगा. That's why these things are happening. But हम उसके बारे में भी बात नहीं करते हैं, because our culture is such. So I always take the example of fertility journeys. I said, in a fertility journey, just as an example, the man and the male factor and the female factor has equal significance. Use that as an opportunity to have more communication. बच्चा आप ही का है, कपल आप ही हो, खुशी आप ही की है, पैसे आप दोनों के जा रहे हैं. So then your stakes are high. The stakes are high. Instead of being whatever secretive or whatever it is, take it as an opportunity to have conversations that you otherwise would not. Talk about mental health. Talk about sexual health. And I feel men have an incredibly important role to play. I'll tell you something. Before Gytree, I used to organize FemCon, which was India's first women's health festival. And front row में 2018 की बात है. This is before COVID, before digital health became all the rage. 2018 में मैंने पहला edition करा था. I was newly married at the time. My father-in-law was the first. He was sitting in the front row of that women's health festival where I was talking about boobs and vaginas and breast pain and vaginismus, and he was there and he was listening and he was sitting. My father-in-law, he was like 60 at the time, and he sat there and he listened to it. It doesn't cost you to listen. Just listen.
At least wanting to change, wanting to be aware. And at that age, मतलब instead of saying that we can't change, अच्छा ये क्या है या रूम में छुप जाओ, you at least wanting to know कि ये चीज़ है, and it's not even funny.
Absolutely, like that. Yeah, absolutely, yes.
But I think just to put it in another perspective, मुझे ये भी लगता है that जहाँ पे males don't talk about it, and it's been years now कि वो बात नहीं करते, मेरे को ऐसा भी लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं even women are responsible for that. Because what happens is, I know what your opinion will be on this, but it's just a thought that what I see is, if it's pregnancy, for example, periods tha, pregnancy, I think even women have trivialized and normalized the experience in their life so much कि जब उन्होंने initially इस चीज़ को उतनी importance और वो चीज़ खुद नहीं दी, तो male भी नहीं दे पाए. मेरे को ये भी लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं हाँ, they want to talk about it, of course, but I don't know from when it must have started, but I also think that even females really trivialize the process. If I take just pregnancy as an example, if I see older like generations, a generation before that, so now when you want to talk about it, like to them, even if it's the men in the house, or even if you want to talk to the females, they will say that we had to just get on with life. They don't know that when they would have been going through something, that's called something called postpartum phase. And then of course the child becomes the main focus and the women just have to get on. So whether it's their weight gain issues, whether they are not wanting to get back into shape, whether it is anything, I strongly believe that it has to now come under the scanner, that talk about it and let people be more aware of it. I think it happens in the postpartum phase more. When women come up to you, just for people to be aware, for how long does a postpartum phase last, or there is absolutely no timeline to, this is going to happen, this is when it starts, this is when it finishes. And with each woman, it is varied, right? They go through a lot of things and every woman is different. It's never going to be the same that, okay, my sister, my mother didn't go through it, so you shouldn't. The idea becomes you shouldn't. मतलब तुम्हें ऐसा feel होना ही नहीं चाहिए. तो you just can't support. So help the viewers understand about the postpartum phase of a woman, which men and families, in-laws, parents, everybody should know about, so that in the future they can help the girls more.
So firstly, I'll talk about postpartum in this situation, that it's very real. Firstly, it's always been real. Many a time what happens is that, I see this in our strata of society also. When women are in their advanced stages of pregnancy, they generally go to their maika, and the mom comes to take care of the daughter and the mother-in-law is a bit there. Husbands are becoming much more hands-on, but it still is a very female experience overall. And I will say this with without any hesitation, that the previous generation does have problem in acknowledging that postpartum is real. I have seen a lot of, like some of my friends who've given birth recently and all of that, they've really struggled to, whenever they've spoken about the pain or the difficulty or the challenge, or the pain of breastfeeding or whatever, any challenge, then they have been shut down. But we did it, everyone does it, you're not the only one. Every woman is doing it. First of all, every woman is not doing it. Every woman is not choosing to be a mother or a biological mother. I am one of them. I am a very proud, prospective, adoptive parent. I'll probably talk about it later. But the women in the current generation, and maybe a little bit about, they do feel a sense of shame or judgment in really talking openly about this experience. Because think of the partner. The partner has two frames of reference for this experience: their mom and then the wife. When the mom
or the sister,
but generally, if the mom says, "Nahi, ye to sabko hota hai," this is, then they are less likely to be sensitized towards the wife.
Which I'm saying that like women trivialize it.
Yeah. So there is definitely a generational issue also, because at that time, like you very rightly said, there was no support system. My mother-in-law, for example, she talks about her experience where she was pregnant, she was working, she was driving in a scooty and managing something. My father-in-law at that time was had a field posting. My mother had such a difficult birthing experience. Even my dad was on a transferable job. So there is a validation problem which makes women very in our generation a bit hesitant and very afraid and judged to really come out with speaking about those challenges. But thankfully they're pushing back and they're doing it. Postpartum is generally considered an umbrella term for a lot of physical and emotional changes that can happen to a new mom up for 2 to 3 years after birth. Now it matters a lot, what form of birthing it was. Was it vaginal birthing? Was it cesarean? Was it natural? Was it, using artificial reproductive technologies, etc., etc. Your experience is different, right? Now, the entire umbrella term actually is, up to 2 years after being a mom, like after 2 years, there is a regular cadence. You have to go to your doctor and do things like that. Women are not able to do it. Either they do not have the cultural support, or they don't have the awareness, or they're like, I'm too tired, ठीक तो हूँ, सब तो चल रहा है, तो छोड़ते हैं, ठीक है. But the risk factor for a new mom does exist up till 2 years for sure. Postpartum depression and such things, however, can last for much longer and can even manifest much later, simply because in the beginning you're just busy with the logistics. I mean, it's the logistical nightmare of birthing and then bringing up your child. When your child is a toddler, not sleeping, you're not sleeping, nobody gets time to think about it.
You're so busy with
You're
the baby.
so busy, like your hands are full, your husband's hands are full. So in the beginning, many a time you're not able to think about it, and it sinks in later. Suddenly your body has changed, suddenly your identity has changed. Many a time that emotional support is not there to speak about it. You suddenly feel that the world around you is moving ahead and you feel a bit stuck or something like that. And I just want to say one thing, Shivangi, about postpartum mental health is that your depression and your grief for a former self can coexist and does coexist with the intense joy of being a mom.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that there are so many women, when they are talking about their challenge, they're like, oh my God, but you're so lucky, you've got this family, you've got this, what a cute baby. Yeah, sure. I feel a lot of joy for that. But coexisting with that joy are these other frustrations, are
and
these
certain
other fears, frustrations, challenges, grief, confusion. We must make space for that complex spectrum of emotions to exist. And it is complex. Parenting is complex. And that complication cannot be essentialized, just feel joy. No. You can't just feel joy. All other coexisting, conflicting emotions are just as valid. And this needs to be acknowledged. This needs to be spoken about. And postpartum depression is real. Postpartum, I won't even say depression. That's a medical term.
Doesn't always have to be depression. It can just be the postpartum phase.
Yeah, it's an umbrella term.
Generation से, क्योंकि like I said कि उसको normalize किया जाता है. There are mother-in-laws in certain houses, even mothers, who kind of, because for their like grandparents and everybody also, they tend to forget that phase of their life. उनको याद नहीं रहता है कि उस time पे क्या हुआ होगा. हाँ, because hands are full. और इस बारे में like you're saying ना, how do you help even men in this process to better understand what their wives are going through? Because what you will suggest today can help a lot of men also, that okay, in your house this is something you might have not seen, because postpartum is a fairly new term. It's been existing in hormonal changes and everything, but it's a phase or a term that maybe some men have heard now. Yeah. In the recent few years, because right now mental health, all of these things have now come in the forefront. Right? So I'd like you to help the men right now and speak to them and tell them how to help their wives in this phase and how to be more patient, and what is it they should definitely know, even if they're not Googling, so through you they can know.
So if I'm being very practical, I just keep saying that you don't become, a lot of, I think like, my husband and I, we talk a lot about fatherhood, right? In our journey of, being adoptive parents and making that decision, many times the issue of fatherhood has come up, What is fatherhood? Motherhood, everyone knows, but what is fatherhood? You've done your deed, the pregnancy is being taken care of by the wife or the partner, whatever. Childbirth is happening, breastfeeding is happening. What is the role of the father? What is fatherhood? Socially, culturally, biologically, what is fatherhood? And often my husband and I have spoken. And it's tricky. Like a lot of, men, like startup founders, some men I deeply admire, they talk about the role of themselves as fathers, the emotional role of a father, the emotional role of a person who is a caregiver for his pregnant partner. Thankfully, there are some really like well-known men who are beginning to talk about these things. And postpartum, like mental blues or whatever, can happen to fathers as well. So there is research behind it, okay? Because their lives have also changed overnight, right?
Overwhelming unke liye bhi.
It's very overwhelming, right? Now what happens is that the one thing in which men can genuinely help is the logistics around it. If you're not a very emotional person, if you're not a very empathetic person, I don't know, whatever, even if the logistics can be taken care of, that's great. Secondly, consider your wife's emotions as real, or your partner's emotion. Whatever your equation is with the mom of your child, consider that to be real. There are a lot of people I know in my circle who said that, but why does she need a nanny? Yaar, my mom brought me, she was a single mom. I'm like, that great. So what's your problem? I mean, like a lot of people believe that, but why should we get a nanny? Yaar, ye to ghar par hi hona chahiye.
To each their own also, yeah.
To each their own, right? Just, investing in what your partner's experience is, considering it real, giving her that validation, that is important. Even if you have thoughts in your mind, just reserve it for later. Right now, your partner is sleep deprived, she's given birth to a human being, her body has gone through something absolutely immense. Firstly, stop calling it fucking magical.
Yeah.
Okay? It's biology, it's forceps and scissors and scalpels and blood loss.
और चाहे किसी भी तरीके से हुआ हो, C-sec हो चाहे vaginal हो.
ये चीज़ें हर चीज़ में होती हैं. चाहे आपका vaginal हो, चाहे आपका C-sec हो, चाहे आपका कुछ हो. तो ज़रा उसका लिहाज करें, ठीक है? आप इमेजिन भी नहीं कर सकते हैं कि वो बॉडी पे क्या गुजरती है. तो उसका लिहाज करें, बहुत बड़ी चीज़ होती है. अगर आप इतना ही, जब हमारे किसी का हाथ पैर टूटता है, अरे उसको तो हाथ टूटा है, और उसको भैया यहाँ पे बहुत कुछ चीज़ें हुई हैं. जस्ट बिकॉज इट्स नॉट इन अ प्लास्टर डजंट मीन दैट समथिंग मैसिव इज नॉट हैपेंड. ओके, तो उसका लिहाज करें, उसका थोड़ा वाकिफ़ रहें कि भाई अगर कल आपका बच्चा पूरी रात रो रहा था, मीनिंग द मॉम मे हैव बीन अवेक, तो आज सुबह अगर वो थोड़ी चिड़चिड़ी हो रही है तो ज़रा वाकिफ़ रहिए, भाई कल रात को सो नहीं पाई हैं, पूरी रात ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग कर रही हैं या फॉर्मूला फीडिंग, जो भी कर रही हैं, उसका भी एक फिज़िकल टूल जाता है. ज़्यादा सोच नहीं पा रही हैं, तो थोड़ा वाकिफ़ रहिए, थोड़ा इन मेंटल एंड फिज़िकल रियलिटीज़ का लिहाज करिए. इट शुडंट बी दैट हार्ड. आई मीन इफ़ यू आस्क मी, लाइक
और इसका ये कोई टाइम लिमिट नहीं है कि अब तो इतने टाइम
लिमिट क्या होता है. अब आप पेरेंट तो अब बन गए ना ज़िंदगी भर, अब आप बन गए. अब हेल्थ इश्यूज भी रहेंगी, चीज़ें भी होंगी, अब तो आप बन चुके ना. you've chosen this. If you've chosen this, then you're committing to this. It's a big commitment. You might not always remain a husband, but you will always remain a dad.
Yeah.
You will always remain a dad or a mom. You cannot become a parent. So this is a commitment. और अगर आप अपने बच्चे को healthy and happy चाहते हैं, आप अपने पार्टनर को हेल्दी एंड हैप्पी रखे बिना कैसे कर सकते हैं वो चीज़.
राइट, लवली. ऑल्सो टेल मी, अभी हम लोग ने इतनी बातें करी, आपने मेंशन करा दैट यू आर अ प्रोस्पेक्टिव अडॉप्टिव मदर एज वेल. हाउ डिड यू एंड योर हस्बैंड कम टू दिस डिसीजन एंड व्हाई?
Why is an easy answer, how is a difficult answer. The why is because I had a health scare which took a huge toll on my body, my mind. I was very young at the time, and I thought that I don't want to be limited by my condition, and मैं बहुत घबरा गई. It was a split second decision between my partner and me. that we will build a family through adoption. I was not wanting to put my body through more risks. So there was a risk factor. I was told that there was a risk factor, and I was not willing to take that risk because I wanted to be healthy, available, and fit as a mom, whether that baby is coming biologically or otherwise.
Sure.
This was very, very clear in both the minds of me and my partner that हमें healthy रहना है. We want to be emotionally, mentally, and physically healthy people. One bad health episode can change your life entirely. If we can avoid it, then why not?
Sure.
But I will acknowledge that this decision was, we took it like this, but उसके ramifications बहुत हैं. We thought through this, we took the time to connect with adoption communities, adoptive parents की community. बहुत कुछ सोचना पड़ता है. पहले तो family.
Of course.
Big battle.
If you don't mind me asking, is it a love marriage, arranged?
It's a love marriage.
Okay.
But our parents got involved way early in the scene. तो मतलब क्या ही बोले, मतलब हाँ, love marriage. We chose each other. We fell in love. We dated for a while. Then we got married. And I think in the first year of my marriage, I had a major health scare. And we took the decision like this. Like it was a split-second decision. And then we worked towards inculcating a healthy mindset around that decision between us and our families. It was very difficult because families have their own. My parents, I'm from Lucknow. There are weird attitude towards non-biological children.
What were these pressures and challenges that you faced?
Yeah, the usual stuff. अरे बच्चा नहीं करोगी, अच्छा career, all kinds of the usual hurtful stuff. कुछ problem है क्या? हाँ है तो what's your deal? Like what's your issue? I know that I took a decision because it felt right for me and my partner and my body and my health. It's not a decision for everybody. It does not suit everybody. People should think through adoption very, very deeply. Time लगता है, बहुत time लगता है. We've been waiting for a while. So in India, the processes are still getting tightened up. It's not a perfect process. It's time taking. It is emotionally grueling. There are all kinds of comments and implicit judgments from all quarters, be it your own family or a person on the street. And if the woman who's choosing to be an adoptive mother happens to be successful professionally, they'll be like, they'll draw some weird correlations. किसको तो career से, there are so many well-meaning people who say कि हाँ अच्छा तो तुम्हारा figure maintain हो जाएगा. I'm like, मेरा figure आज नहीं है. My figure is already gone. तो मतलब मेरा बेबी हो चाहे ना हो, मेरा फिगर तो पहले ही गया.
और कहीं अगर आप ज्यादा अच्छा कर रहे हो नौकरी में तो भी प्रॉब्लम है, नहीं कर रहे हो तो प्रॉब्लम है.
तो भी प्रॉब्लम है कि बट नाउ यू फेल्ड इन एट टू लेवल्स. सो ऐसा होता है. Okay, cool. I say nothing to these comments. It's a bit, like weird. Earlier, I used to cry. I used to be very uncomfortable. I used to be very, when people say that, when the new moms in my circle, when they talk about their challenges, say, oh God, चलो तुम्हारा ये वाला part तो नहीं होगा, लेकिन हाँ, बच्चा तो फिर भी सर खाएगा. They say these kinds of things. Earlier, it used to like really make me cry, that is it has my body not been through enough, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it's fine. I can't expect people to know me. They barely know themselves. That's the truth. People barely know themselves.
And Swarnima, any kind of way of having a baby is hard.
Yeah,
whatever way you choose.
The thing is that, see, there is a morbid obsession that Indian culture has with fertility and women producing children. यार ठीक है, मतलब I तो feel very, मतलब मुझे तो ये लगता है कि भाई मैं एक women's health company चला रही हूँ, I am helping women with this journey, etc., all those kinds of things. But I really wish that people would think more about other ways of family building. A lot of people say law of nature, law of culture. हमारा जो Indian culture है, in Mahabharata, in Ramayana, there are blended families everywhere. There are all kinds of methods of family building. It's always been in our culture. Same as, queerness, being gay, being lesbian, being homosexual, being homoerotic. It has always been a part of our culture. अगर आप अपने कल्चर से वाकिफ नहीं है तो मेरी गलती थोड़ी है.
Right.
आपको बस राम और रावण के आगे पता ही नहीं है तो ये आपका एजुकेशनल गैप है, मेरा थोड़ी है.
और जब आपको पता चलता है तो उसको ब्लॉक भी कर देते हो कि ये तो नहीं होता होगा.
Yeah, so you
turn a blind eye.
Yeah, just like queerness, blended families, non-biological families, multitudes of motherhoods, it has always been part of our culture. But having said that, I do acknowledge that this journey has been incredibly difficult. Sometimes I feel that, I don't know, I have fears as well that, will there be judgment? There will be, of course, but how will I deal with it? How do we narrativize adoption to a child? How do we shield them from some negativity? So we talk about it. But this is what it's been, that we made a decision. We know it's been the absolutely right decision for our family, for me. I've been able to focus on my health, make myself healthy, really, get on the front foot with my health without having this biological clock pressure. And it's just a decision that's just, and now my in-laws and all, they talk about it, we haven't, of course, it's been a journey, like I said.
Yeah.
It's not been easy. But many a time, they say that, sometimes we worry that, do you think there'll be bullying in school? Tab kya hota hai? This and that. They are also thinking from various angles now. And as a family, we talk about it.
Combined, it is not a bad thing. Also, that okay, fine. There are so many things to consider, because what if when the baby finds out?
Exactly.
What happens?
In fact, now there's a lot of research that shows that the child should be told as soon as they can understand. You use storytelling, you use other ways of narrativizing, and the child should know, right? We talk about these challenges. We've told our parents, we told our family to listen, if you have any questions, let's talk about it. Don't think hame bura lagega. So they also take it in that spirit now, that if they have any questions, if they have any such thoughts, we discuss it openly.
Because they'll be able to help and support you better when the time comes.
See, I have grown up, and my husband even more than me, with the influence of grandparents. My Nana Nani used to live in the same city as me. My Dada Dadi used to stay literally with me. My life has been with my grandparents. Grandparents are a very essential part, I think,
in the upbringing, definitely.
Yeah. And I'm not talking from the helping perspective, just generally, their story and everything. And when an adopted child comes into the family, that person will have two histories. One is their history of origin, and one is their history by adoption.
Yeah.
And I want the grandparents to very healthily be a part of their lives. I don't want any no topics. I don't want any jhijak. I don't want any discomfort. And so we've taken ample time to sensitize our families, to sensitize the people around us who we want, to be a part of our child's life. We've been very open about it with our friends, friends who are very important to us. We've been talking about it for years. मतलब हमने कभी भी इसको ना छुपाया है, ना इसको conversation में subvert किया है. We are very open about it.
Yeah.
And of course that has led to a lot of weird comments also. But
that's fine.
Yeah, listen, people are weird.
If you do it normally also or some other way, tab bhi comments.
I'll tell you, recently someone in my hometown gave birth, I think by cesarean or something. And there was another auntie who made a comment कि अच्छा आजकल की लड़कियां तो पता नहीं क्यों ऐसा, they're choosing the easy way out. अब यार
Easy.
हाँ मतलब, and how can, तो मतलब I'm like यार इन से सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए क्या मेरे को सीरियसली, मतलब I was thinking in my head कि मतलब ऐसे लोगों से क्या मेरे को सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए. Forget about certificate as a mom, but as a human being, मतलब do I want to package myself into a palatable thing for such mindsets and cater to such mindsets? I think the answer is a big fat no. So I think gradually I've become very comfortable.
हाँ,
with
इट्स
this
इम्पॉर्टेंट.
decision.
आप और आपकी फैमिली जितना इसको नॉर्मलाइज कर देगी ना, उतना ही आपके बेबी के लिए भी आगे चल के या थ्रू आउट नॉर्मली रहेगा.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल कि मतलब जितना हम इसको बहुत बिग डील बनाएंगे, लॉट ऑफ पीपल से ओ अडॉप्शन सो नोबल. नो, इट्स नॉट नोबल. It's not. I feel very irritated when oh, this is a very great thing. No, we are not doing charity. We are building a family. I want that child is fulfilling my need of having building a family as much as I am giving them a family. So there's nothing noble. There's nothing great. There's nothing the child needs to be grateful for. It's not charity.
It's not NGO.
It's not an NGO.
Okay, we'll give them better life.
Yeah, I am bringing a child into my family, merging our histories, merging our memories, merging our journeys. They are adopting me as much as I'm adopting them.
Exactly. Just as you have, that's how it is.
So yeah, that's how now all this calmness and zenness is like today.
अब
4 साल पहले मैं रोने लग जाती थी. I used to be very affected by people's offhand comments. अभी भी होता है, but चला जाता है वो, किया है, पागल है, छोड़ो.
ठीक है.
But earlier I used to be like, oh my God, people think of me like that. ऐसा होता है, ऐसा मैं कौन सा बड़ा क्राइम कर रही हूँ. And tears and tears and trauma.
मेंटली भी टैक्सिंग है.
It's very
taxing. It's the same. वही मैं बोल रही हूँ. जैसे अगर आप उसको बायोलॉजिकली करें या आप अडॉप्शन में करें, एक्सपीरियंस इज द सेम.
हाँ, no, there is, like I'll tell you, अरे इसका तो बच्चा 3 साल का हो गया, अभी तक वजन नहीं घटा इसका. ओके, अनदर पर्सन, यार ये तो शी इज बिकम स्लिम आफ्टर 8 months, आई थिंक शी स्टॉप ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग. आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू, मतलब देयर इज अ स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ डिसीजंस एंड अ स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ जजमेंट्स. उस स्पेक्ट्रम में मैं भी चली जाऊंगी. आई विल बी पार्ट ऑफ द क्लब दैट इज बीइंग जज्ड फॉर नो गुड रीजन. इट्स ओके.
ठीक है,
क्या करें अब.
नहीं, वैसे नहीं करोगे तो भी जज होगे, ऐसे करोगे तो भी you'll be judged.
इट्स फाइन, मतलब कोई दिक्कत नहीं है.
But congratulations, I'm sure it'll work out for the best.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm very excited. We are both we can't wait, but we have to wait a lot. It's a long process, but we are very, if tomorrow the baby arrives, I mean, I'll be thrilled. So yeah.
Right. Great. So on a much lighter note, tell me, you are a female entrepreneur. अपने में एक रेयर तो नहीं बोलूँगी, बट हाँ, बहुत सारी जो फीमेल्स हैं बहुत इनकरेज नहीं होती हैं, या फिर उनका मन होता है, बट अगेन फैमिली रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ और भी 10 चीज़ों की वजह से दे डोंट स्टार्ट इट. अपने लाइक एम्बिशंस होते हैं, बहुत कुछ है. आई एम श्योर इट्स बिन हार्ड फॉर यू ऑल्सो टू बी अ फीमेल एंटरप्रेन्योर, बट as if I can just lightly put it, if you had to start a wellness retreat program for female entrepreneurs, which 2 activities would you definitely have in your itinerary?
वेलनेस रिट्रीट अगर करना होगा तो सबसे पहले तो आई विल डू नंबर 1 like easy yoga, easy movement kind of things which you can integrate throughout the day, because it's not always possible कि मैं 1 घंटा जिम में दे रही हूँ या मैं 1 घंटा बैठ के मेडिटेशन योगा कर रही हूँ. बहुत बार ऐसा नहीं होता है. एंड नॉर्मली एज अ हेल्थ केयर फाउंडर आई हैव सीन दैट इफ यू आर साइड ट्रैक्ड फ्रॉम दैट एक्टिविटी once or twice, and you getting yourself back onto the regimen is the hardest. So the first thing is that we will conceptualize an exercise regimen that women can do. They can just integrate. They can go to the restroom, do something, come back out. They can integrate in their daily life on a daily basis. The second is that I think I would work with a mental health practitioner and introduce some form of counseling, some form of journaling, some form of mind dump, just for mental clarity. Because mental wellness is, founders' mental health is a real thing. And if you're a female founder, then it's like whatever, much harder. Especially if you're a mom, you're married or something like that, the challenges are higher. So I think the easy physical part, and some measures, some practices which help with your mental wellness, these are 2 things I would definitely do.
Yeah, great. And like I said, you are a female entrepreneur. What are the challenges that you faced while raising funding for your like startup? You are now a VC funded company, but as stats would have it, ये बहुत rare होता है. Like बहुत कम लोगों को ये मतलब funding मिल पाती है. Like especially as a women entrepreneur. So what has that challenge been for you?
देखिए चैलेंज तो आई थिंक मोर देन बीइंग अ फीमेल फाउंडर इट वाज दैट हम लोग एक विमेंस हेल्थ की कंपनी बना रहे थे. सो वी आर स्टिल वन ऑफ द वेरी फ्यू, लाइक अब तो फिर भी बहुत होने लगे, बट एट दैट टाइम आई थिंक द फर्स्ट women's health company that got VC funding was that happened in 2020. 2020 में हुआ था, Proactive for Her बोल के कंपनी, they raised their first million. And that was in 2020. वो पहला women's health company था जिसने VC funding उठाई थी. उसके 2 साल बाद हमने उठाया था. So the space itself was very new. So it was an untested space, it was an untested market. So therefore the challenge arose. In terms of, VC funding being difficult for female entrepreneurs, there's one thing I would like to say. And when I say is less or challenging, it's like very like 2% of the world's VC funding goes to female founders. मतलब it's stark. और ये globally, ये कोई Indian problem नहीं है, ये global issue है. और उसका reason ये नहीं है कि a male VC will sit there and judge a female founder separately. होता है in some cases होता होगा, but that is not the core problem. The core problem also isn't that there are not enough female VCs out there. Female VCs भी आजकल बढ़ने लगे हैं. The real problem really is कि जब आपका pitch deck जाता है एक VC के पास, what is the journey that takes your idea and prototype and proof of concept and early traction and your pitch deck to an investor's desk? That process is not as simple कि हाँ मेरा आइडिया बहुत अच्छा है अब मुझे VC फंडिंग मिल जाएगी. ना, ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं होता. अर्ली स्टेज फाउंडर्स को अपना सोशल लाइफ, कल्चरल लाइफ, फैमिली लाइफ बहुत कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ करना पड़ता है. कितनी वुमेन कर पाती हैं? नहीं कर पाती हैं. ठीक है, अभी भी जब मैं बहुत बार ऐसा हुआ है, मैं अकेले ओवरसीज ट्रैवल कर रही हूँ फॉर वर्क एंड पीपल, अच्छा तुम ठीक रहोगे? देयर आस्किंग माय हस्बैंड, भाई वो ही इज़ अ 30+ गाय, खुद की कंपनी वो 10 साल से चला रहा है, सब कर लेगा, वो मैं बाहर ही तो जा रही हूँ, ऐसा क्या हो गया? मतलब एंड वी हैव अ हेल्पर, लाइक व्हाट इज द इशू? इवन इफ आई डोंट हैव अ दाल चावल तो बनाना आता है उसको, मतलब व्हाटएवर, इट्स अ स्टूपिड थिंग. सो women trying to कि भाई मैं 12 बजे तक काम करूँगी, I will leave home late, early, I will come home late, I will be on the road funding, ये सब challenges आती हैं women को, जिसके वजह से बहुत बार ऐसा होता है that they are not able to network that much. The mentorship, the ecosystem around that process is very poor for women. That's why जो पहला from idea to early proof of concept to early traction to making a pitch deck to getting a warm introduction to the VC, इसी में हमारा leaky pipeline हो जाता है and women have already lost the game. अगर आप VC के सामने आ गए, then I would bet that perhaps it's a more equalizing situation than not. But I think the leaky pipeline happens much before that.
No, easy नहीं है.
Yeah, बिल्कुल भी easy नहीं है, बिल्कुल भी easy नहीं है.
Yeah. So, Swarnima, we've spoken about your startup. We've spoken about you. We've spoken about a lot of stereotypical mindsets that people have. Now I will pull you into a very interesting segment that we have, which is the top 3 rapid round. It's a fun segment. Okay. So in this, you will not get much time. So I'll ask you 3 questions, and in those questions, you have to give me only 3 pointers for each.
3 pointers for each?
Yeah. So 3 questions and 3 pointers for each. Okay.
Sure.
So my first question to you is, given the resources, what are the 3 healthcare innovation you would want to bring tomorrow?
Okay. Number 1, without a doubt, screening for cancers. At-home screening for cancers, जो बहुत जल्दी हो जाए, घर पे हो जाए, आसानी से हो जाए, because early screening and diagnosis saves lives. Number 2, screening for neonatal defects and neonatal complications to prevent miscarriages, to prevent various other heartbreaks. The third, I would say, is something for brain health. The brain, I always say, is the vast unknown. We know nothing about our brain. We know even less about our brain than we know about space. I'm a huge space nerd, so that's why I know. I would like to empirically know more about the brain easily without spending too much money. So these are, I would say, the 3 healthcare innovations I would like.
Great, quite innovative, and I hope this happens with you at some point in your life.
कुछ होने लग भी गया है, ब्रेस्ट केयर वगैरह का शुरू हो भी गया है. हमारे कुछ और भी फेमटेक फाउंडर्स हैं जो ऐसा काम कर भी रहे हैं, बट हाँ इट्स स्टिल डिफिकल्ट. बट आई होप उनको बहुत फंडिंग मिले, वो इसको बहुत स्केल करें. ऑल वुमेन आर एबल टू स्क्रीन, बट हाँ, बट इट्स वी आर स्टिल फार अवे फ्रॉम proper screening. Yeah,
we'll get there. 3 points to men or even females, okay, in the life of women to support them better in any phase of their life, as teenagers, as married women, as pregnant women, postpartum, menopause, at any phase of life. 3 points to men, if you like, even to females in the house.
Yeah, I would like to include first is literally just mind your own business. Honestly speaking. अगर कुछ अच्छा नहीं बोल पा रहे हो तो बोलो ही मत. Nobody cares what you think. Mind your own business. Number 2, if you are a key stakeholder in somebody's life, as a friend, partner, spouse, whatever, I think lead with curiosity. It's okay if you don't agree with a lot of mindsets. It's okay if somebody's experience is sounding alien to you. Like the period mood swings.
Period mood, PMS.
Yeah, like PMS or whatever. Like, if it is alien to you, then lead with curiosity rather than questioning, And I think the third would be that invest in knowing yourself a little better. You cannot support anybody if you don't know yourself, if you're not conscious of your own biases, of your own weird tendencies, if you're not self-aware, then you have no hope of being a support system to anybody.
Right. Yeah. That's 3 great points actually.
Thank you.
And finally, in this segment, I have to ask you 3 stereotypes around women's healthcare that just need to go.
3 stereotypes around women's health. Yeah, there are so many.
Any 3 rapidly, quickly.
It's too easy, it's too hard, it cannot be done. All these stereotypes come in the way of prevention, awareness, long-term management.
Lovely. Before we let you go, one piece of advice for aspiring female entrepreneurs today.
Be very good salespersons. Sales se mat ghabrao. As a founder, you will see that your work is more sales than anything. You're selling yourself to your user, you're selling yourself to an investor, you're selling yourself to a person you're trying to hire, you're selling yourself to a person you're trying to retain. Zara gumption lao. There are innumerable challenges, I get it. Innumerable challenges, I have seen them myself. But I have also found that if you have the gumption and you've taken the right step, the first step, you will find cheerleaders on your way. मैं आज जो हूँ, मैं उन women की बदौलत हूँ जिन्होंने at a very young age मेरे साथ काम किया, मुझे encourage किया, मुझे बोला you're worthy of something, और इसलिए मैं आगे बढ़ती चली गई. आपको भी मिल जाएगा. Have some gumption and really embrace the very unfeminine trait, the traditionally unfeminine trait of being very good salespeople. So always be pitching.
Okay. In today's fast-paced world, some advice for the women to take some preventive measures in order to have a better lifestyle or health.
Invest in mental health. Don't be afraid of therapy. Go for it.
And finally, Swarnima, please talk to our viewers and the society. One last message to them about having societal awareness about healthcare. Your final thoughts, basically.
I think I'm going to take a little longer. I'm just going to say one thing, that healthcare overall is changing, right? A lot of people say कि यार we have to go back to our simple roots. दादी माँ के नुस्खे, no, not at all. दादी माँ did not have microplastic in her hair and her placenta and the water and the food, but we do. Okay, so दादी माँ के नुस्खे are great. Start with that if you must. But remember that healthcare is not just what's happening inside a clinic. The air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the water that we drink, the atmosphere we're sleeping in, it's all healthcare. Educate yourself. ChatGPT se pooch lo. ChatGPT will tell you everything. But just think of preventative health much more than you've thought of before. It's going to cost, preventative health costs you much less than anything else that comes after that.
Great. This has been absolutely wonderful talking to
Thank you, Shivangi.
to you, and thank you so much for saying yes, and thank you for being here with us. And I hope that you achieve a lot of success in the initiatives that you take even further.
Thank you, and I wish you the very same. I hope that, I was just reading, just yesterday something popped up on my LinkedIn that, if you're a podcaster today, here's what you should know. And I was like, wait, I have a podcast tomorrow, I must share this with Shivangi. So I really hope that, your audience grows in leaps and bounds and you get a lot of satisfaction doing what you do. So yeah, all the very best to you as well.
Thank you so much, Swarnima, and I hope you had a good time.
I did.
And for all you guys out there, thank you so much for watching us. I will put the LinkedIn link also for Gytree in the description below, so that if you guys want to go check out her page, please do. And research, study, and do like, share, subscribe the channel. Share this video as much as possible if there's anybody out there who you think they need to know about the conversations we have had today. So I'll see you guys next time very, very soon, and keep watching Dear Unconventionals. Thank you so much. See you guys.